Lamont Holifield. Father, forgive them.
Forgive them, for they know not what they do. As we begin to look at this word, we as a people are accustomed to seeing crosses. We wear them on chains. We carry them in our possession to the point that it is almost impossible to grasp their original horror. At the most fundamental level, the cross is in no way religious. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. We're going to take a moment to reflect because I want to paint a picture so that you can begin to answer the question, is there not a cause for Jesus to say these words? The four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they don't focus a lot on Christ's physical suffering. And we have to ask the question, why? Because they wanted to emphasize something else. And it is our role this Good Friday to understand what it is. And in order to paint this picture, I'm going to look at a 21st century occurrence. We have been reminded time and time again that the Geneva Convention was designed it's against displaying or humiliating POWs, prisoners of war. Right. But when we look at the crucifixion, it was purposely designed to do just that, to display and to humiliate. The crosses were placed on roadsides as a form of public announcement, like a PA on TV. These miserable beings that you see before you are not of the same species as the rest of us. The purpose for pinning victims up like insects was to invite the gratuitous abuse of the passerbyers. The crowd, they understood what their role was, to increase the jeering and the mocking, the degradation of those who have been designated as unfit to live. I'm headed somewhere, and I'm going to quit too. The mocking of Jesus, the spitting and the scorn, the so-called inversion of his kingship, because it wasn't inverted, the studious dethronement. They planned this thing with a crown of thorns and a purple robe. They all were part of a deliberate procedure of shaming that unfolded in several stages, of which the crucifixion just tied it all together. Sometimes we see arresting paintings of the mockery of Jesus, and they're unsparing in their depiction of the sheer viciousness and inhumanity of men torturing him. In their faces, we see the twisted expression of those who lynched our ancestors. We see the sadistic glee of those who have abused prisoners of wars. We see the uncanny smiles of those who struck the Twin Towers in New York. But if we're honest on this Good Friday, I know we don't want to talk about this, but we see within our own hearts the capacity, if given the right circumstances, to engage in terrible acts or to assign those acts to other people to carry out in our name while we wash our hands of them. All right, Brother Pilate, we're going to leave it alone. This can be characterized in a homily that was preached by a military chaplain in 2002. He said, and I'm just going to quote it, "We still have some enemies to deal with. Truth be told, a lot of our enemies are not up north. A lot of our enemies are here in the heart. You've heard the saying, he is his worst enemy. We say it to others, not realizing that we are our worst enemies. I'm reminded of hearing Dr. Smith say all the time, don't worry about that fella out there. Worry about that fella you shave every morning. That fella that you pat up with the makeup in the morning. That's who you have to be concerned about. The Apostle Paul said it this way in Romans 8:18. He described a war that was going on. I know y'all thought we just got into war when we went into Iraq, but there's been a war that's been going on since the day I was born, and we got to fight. He says, for I know that in me, and you too, that is in our flesh dwelleth no good thing. Paul went on to say, he said, because I'm trying to do what's right, but every time I try to do what's right, I find out that evil is present with me. I'm going to stop right there because you can preach right there. But I'm from the old school, so I'm going to talk about a hymn and then I'm going to sit down. There's a hymn called Beneath the Cross. Some of you all are too young, and I know I'm young too to know about it, but I know about it. That last verse says that we let our pride go by. We don't want to deal with pride, it'll kill you. Meaning that we have to let go of pretense, acknowledging that an enemy lodges not only in the heart of the bad guys, but it hides out in your heart. The other line I like, it says, my sinful self, my only shame, my glory, all the cross. And I want you to look at that word shame, because the crucifixion was shameful. In the Message Bible, in Hebrews, the 12th chapter, the 2nd verse, I like this. He says, keep your eyes on Jesus, who both began and finished this race we're in. Study how he did it, because he never lost sight of where he was headed. That exhilarating finish in and with God. He could put up with anything along the way, cross, shame, whatever. And now he's there in the place of honor right alongside God. And the word is already blessed. He did not deserve to be shamed, saints of God. Right. Whose shame did he have? Ours. Yeah. My conclusion, I can sum it up in 1 minute. As human beings, we are in the grip of something that we don't fully comprehend. But Jesus' prayer for the worst of the worst comes from a place beyond human understanding. That's why you don't understand why he hung on that cross and didn't come down, because he was not looking at your filth. He wasn't looking at my filth. He's omniscient. He already knew we were going to mess up when he created us. But from that sphere of divine power, we hear these words today as though they were spoken for the first time. As though they were being spoken at this very moment by the living Spirit, which is the Holy Ghost. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. God bless you.
Come on, give the Lord praise tonight. Give the Lord real praise. Father, forgive them,